through now. I want to talk about something different now. This is a case, well, this is a very strange incident that you may or may not have heard about in America. And this has happened in Missouri, in Kansas City. And 3 fans of the Kansas City Chiefs were watching a match, apparently, at their friend's house. But not only them, it was a party, I think. It was some sort of party. There was a lot of people there. And these 3 guys who unfortunately are no longer with us on this planet. And so, rest in peace and prayers for them and for their families for what they're going through. Because they were all too young, Clayton McGeeney, who was 36 years old. We'll have a look. We're going to have a look at some video footage of them. David Harrington, who was only 37 years old, and Ricky Johnson, 38 years old, were found dead 2 days after this party in the garden of where the party was held. And the strangest thing, it was very cold. It was freezing cold. So their cause of death has not been established yet. These toxicology reports have gone off. And, it's thought that it probably will be found that they had some drugs in their system. Because this house where they attended this party, the owner of the house was called Jordan Willis. And he is a 38-year-old HIV scientist. And they all went to school together. And Jordan, he was like the scientist. They called him the scientist. And he apparently could concoct drugs. He was the go-to place. Apparently, again, we're going to watch some videos of people saying this, but there's, no proof of this. But he was the guy who would make up the drugs. So some conjecture has gone into, well, there's loads of conjecture. So this was Jordan Willis's house. He slept after this party, apparently. He slept for 48 hours and did not realize that 3 of his friends were dead just outside the house. One was sat in a chair. I'm not sure what position the other 2 were in, but he claims, Jordan claims, he didn't wake up for 48 hours after this party. Well, to not wake up for 48 hours, that's quite difficult, isn't it? Well, you'd want to go to the toilet, if nothing else, unless he just sort of, couldn't control himself. So it makes you wonder, did something go wrong with the drugs that they were taking? Everyone seems to be fairly confident that probably there were drugs involved, but again, not proven. And until the toxicology reports come back, it's not proven. But I cannot imagine you could sleep for 12 hours, couldn't you, if you were hungover or your dad. I don't know about drugs because drugs are not my thing. I've never taken drugs, maybe the odd spliff here and there, but I didn't inhale. That's a joke. That's what Bill Clinton said, wasn't it? But I was lucky that I just didn't like them really. So I didn't see, the point in it. But, and certainly not any harder never any harder drugs than that. Whether they took some sort of concoction. What some people are saying is that because he was inside, because it was his house, so he was in his bed, so he was not exposed to the elements. And because these 3 other men were outside, maybe the combination of the drugs and the fact that they were exposed to the elements is what killed them. But the other strange thing is he claims he just did not know they were there. He never looked out the window where they were right on his porch. Their cars were still outside. They were only found in the end because one of the men, his girlfriend came looking for him because she hadn't been able to get hold of him. So she knew that was the last place he was when she could get hold of him. And so she turned up at the house and found these 3 bodies just outside in the garden. So it's very mysterious. Now, Mr. Willis, Jordan Willis, he has now gone into rehab, immediately into rehab. So I think that there is a drug consequence here. It must be because of drugs. And he seems to realise this. Anyway, he's gone immediately into rehab, and maybe part of it is just to get him out the public eye as well. And it's also important to say it's not being treated as a crime at the moment. There's not enough information. So he's not under arrest. Nobody's under suspicion for doing there's no foul play obvious at the moment. Police are just in the early stages of the investigation, and a lot of it will depend on the toxicology reports. So, very, very strange. This happened on the 9th of January. So it was cold, as you can imagine. So we're going to have a look at some videos about it. Let's just see. Actually, the good old Daily Mail has done an article on it. So we'll have a look at that first. So, HIV scientist whose 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans froze to death outside his home checks into rehab after realising he had a problem with addiction. Oh, he's only just realised. Yeah, when you wake up and you find 3 dead people in your garden, then you realise you've got a problem with drugs. Good God, why did it have to get to that? Anyway, so they were found dead in his backyard. This is going to wobble. I might have to go into a video because I don't think it's going to be very good. Anyway, so apparently he has said the events of that night and the days after were an enormous, heartbreaking wake-up call. And the deaths of his friends made him realise he had a problem with addiction and needed to seek professional help. So this is Jordan. This is the guy with his little doggy. Police have not made any arrests. So it's important to say there's no arrests made. And medical examiners are yet to reveal the cause of death. Results from toxicology reports are still pending. So apparently he is devastated because he did not get a chance to say goodbye or go to his friends' funerals. Anyway, here are the guys. David Harrington, Clayton McGeeney and Ricky Johnson. So they look like healthy guys, they're in the prime of their life, in their 30s. So what happened to them? What happened to them? Yeah. So apparently he moved out of his home within days of police knocking on his door to question him about the bodies, fearing retaliation, and he hasn't been seen since because he's in rehab. It's now turned out he's in rehab. So for 2 days, the families of the victims say they visited Willis's home, called him and sent him Facebook messages asking where they were. He did not respond. Eventually, the fiancé, so this is before they'd found them. He was supposedly asleep then, yeah. Eventually, the fiancé of one of the men broke into the house through the basement and found the first body in the backyard. She called the police. Imagine finding your boyfriend just dead like that. She then called police, who arrived to find Willis in his underwear. His underwear? What, when it's freezing cold? Oh, it says Willis. He's the guy who was inside. They arrived to find Willis in his underwear holding a wine glass. Well, he was probably still like high as a kite. So the families said that they could not dismiss drugs as a possible cause of death for all 3 men. Theories by experts include the men taking fentanyl combined with alcohol and pass out after leaving the house and freeze to death. So, you know, it may be that they just passed out, you know, because they'd had too much to drink or whatever, and drugs. And then because it was so cold, they've got hypothermia and died. So Willis claimed to not have left his home for 2 days, and he slept with noise-cancelling headphones that blocked the sound of his friend's family knocking frantically. So here they are again. So these are the 3 men that have died. Awful. Hope his family get to find out what happened. Anyway, let's have a look now at the actual videos that I've got. Let's see. Where's it? Right, let's have a look at this video.
I went to lock my front door. So basically,
right, let me go back to the beginning.
So basically, I was just going, turn off all my lights. I was getting ready for bed, locking the doors. I went to lock my front door. So basically, I was just going, turn off all my lights. I was getting ready for bed, locking the doors. I went to lock my front door, and I saw a woman come out of the backyard on her phone, and she looked distressed because she kept looking back towards the house, and I thought it was weird. But I just moved in, so I really didn't know much, and so I just went back to my room. 10 minutes later, I saw an ambulance drive by, and I said, well, that's just weird. Something's going on. Went to the front room, looked out, and I saw that there was already 3 cop cars, and there was...
Now you can see it's freezing. It's that snow on the ground, I think, isn't it? So, you know, it is cold and, you know.
The man detained, and the woman was talking to the other police, and basically I kind of watched that conspire for an hour or two. The man eventually left. The police searched the house, went through the backyards and everything, and I had no idea what had happened. And the next morning, I saw the news that they had found 3 dead bodies, and I just was kind of in disbelief. I was like, wow, I watched that happen.
Yeah. So let's have a look at another one now.
Kia ora, teachers. Welcome to New Zealand.
We're our teachers.
Sorry, hang on. So this is another video about it.
Employee here in the Metro loses her job for posting a video that has gone viral.
No, sorry,
Alicia Darling says.
Sorry. That's another one that I'm going to show in a minute. I need to put some windows down so I don't get confused about what I'm showing. Sorry. Yeah, that's another interesting video I just want to show you, which has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about so far. Let's have a look. Right, there's been quite a few of. Let's have a look at this one because I think that's looks quite interesting.
Law and Justice contributor Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, always great to have you here. Are you surprised that these families of these victims are completely in the dark? There's been all sorts of weird, sometimes contradictory information coming out from Jordan Willis and his lawyer, who have spoken briefly and sporadically. Why are these families not being told anything by Kansas City police?
Well, really, the ball is being dropped. There are usually victim witness coordinators with every police department, especially a large police department like Kansas City. The FBI had them, everyone has them, and they serve as liaison between these victim families and law enforcement to just help answer questions, help them with the time. They offer counseling, and it seems like that ball has been completely dropped.
Yeah, one of the family members of one of the victims told Chris Cuomo on News Nation last night that his brother was found dead, sitting in a lawn chair on the back porch, not laying on the ground. Take a listen to it.
They were found by an extended family member, so you guys are in contact. So go ahead, tell the audience.
Yeah, so I believe David was found in a lawn chair on the back porch, rather than all 3 laying flat, which definitely paints a picture we did not have from the very beginning.
Jennifer, what does it tell you if one of the victims was in fact sitting in a lawn chair? And again, I cannot understand how Jordan Willis for 2 days never looked out his back window into his yard to see these bodies.
Well, Elizabeth, you and the rest of the nation can't believe that he didn't see something. But beyond that, it tells me that they took a substance they were comfortable with taking, and it was something that hit them very quickly and led them to unconsciousness. And then they ended up dying either from that drug or from hypothermia or a combination of both.
You say that actually whether or not the victims had their cell phones on them could be critical, as well as ring cameras or security cameras in the neighborhood. Perhaps those might have captured the 3 men as they're in the backyard?
Well, it's really crucial that Kansas City do a canvas. They need to do a neighborhood canvas, not only to talk to individuals, but to also see who has those ring cameras and what was seen. Just imagine what's going to happen if that door actually did open and this individual resident was actually up and about and looking around. That's going to put a hole in his story.
Sorry, I was just looking at a few of the comments there talking about hypothermia. It's true that it's a strange thing that happens when people get hypothermia. They can start taking off their clothes but I don't know if that's what happened to these guys. Or the thing is, bearing in mind that Jordan, the guy who was in the house, he slept for 2 days. If it's true, if we take him at his word that whatever he took, it was probably the same as what they took. They probably all took the same thing, along with the alcohol. He slept for 2 days in his house. He was lucky he was inside. So if he went into this sort of coma type thing, at least he was inside, so he didn't get hypothermia. But they were outside. They were probably chatting, and then they've probably gone unconscious. People have left the party. It would have been one of those. Somebody was saying that it was one of those party houses. People would just leave when they felt like leaving. It wouldn't be a case of like they'd go and say goodbye or whatever, because it was just like everybody would be having a good time, drinking, taking whatever drugs were available. And the guy Jordan, they called him the scientist. He made these drugs up. He was the concoctor of the drugs. Maybe he did make up a bad batch of drugs. That's been suggested as well. Not deliberately, but if maybe when he was making, he put too much in because maybe he was too high or whatever, and he didn't judge it properly. That's a possibility as well. So these 3 men, they were outside, and then maybe they just passed out. I know people that it's happened to here, but of course it's in Spain. My friend, one of my friends has got a really nice sort of villa with a pool and everything, and she's had parties there, and people have ended up falling asleep on the sunbeds and things, and slept there all night, but it wasn't cold, so that being sort of 30 degrees or 40 degrees even. So, but doing it when it's freezing cold like that. But yeah, it's true. People do take off their clothes sometimes. Hypothermia gives you a weird effect. There's a very interesting story about a family that went, was it a family? I think it was like, I think they all were related. And they just all went missing anyway and were found all dead, and they'd done that. What's it called? The Diloff Pass or something like that. Again, that's another subject for an interesting video. And when they found them, they couldn't understand why they had no clothes on. But it was said that this can be something that people do, because it was freezing cold, where people do when they get really cold, when they get hypothermia, they can end up taking their clothes off because their brain is so affected.
Story that he was just asleep and had headphones on for 2 days. So, Elizabeth, that's important information that I hope Kansas City PD is digging deep into.
Yeah, and obviously they didn't do any toxicology tests on Jordan Willis, the host and homeowner, or home renter in this case, to see what he might have been.
That's interesting. So they didn't do any toxicology reports on Jordan. I do think 2 days is a long time to be unconscious, isn't it? I mean, surely he must have wet himself or even done worse. You know, how can you sleep for see how you could even sleep for like 14 hours, maybe even 24 hours, but 48 hours is a long time, isn't it? People banging on your door and stuff. You must have really, really been out of it, if it's true, of course. We have to presume it's true, but it's funny. So now he's checked himself into a rehab, but of course that as well. If you were being cynical, you could think, well, he's checked himself into rehab because he's sort of out of the way there, isn't he?
Been taken. Do we know if he's cooperating with police, saying, "Yeah, we did this drug or took this substance"?
Well, they said he was cooperating, but it's interesting, right? It was 2 days later. And I wonder, because they did not obtain a search warrant, rather they just got permission to search. Oftentimes when that happens, those searches are quite limited compared to a search warrant. And what might they have gotten? I want to know what's on his cell phone, if he actually called anyone else when he said no, he didn't answer any calls. There's just so many answers that I think could be found with proper investigation.
All right. Well, hopefully they're doing it and they're just being highly secretive about it. We'll stay on the case. Jennifer, thanks so much for your analysis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, so there's a lot to come about that story, isn't there? There's a lot, you know. I'll keep you updated when the toxicology reports come back, etc. There's quite a few developing stories from, I can't go into them all tonight because I won't have time, but I've got quite a few stories from the USA to tell you about as well. You know, obviously, because it's been a year on from Nicola disappearing, there's been a lot of concentration on Nicola, the Nicola Bulley case, and now this documentary tomorrow. But then after that, we'll see what happens after that. You know, hopefully as well be able to concentrate on other cases, unless, you know, from what somebody tells me, there's a lot more to come out quite soon about Nicola. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm going to show you one more interesting video from America. Then we're going to look at the doll's house to finish off, because that'll make us smile after all these sort of crazy stories. But this was something that things come up when I'm researching videos. Things come up, pop up on my YouTube, you know. And this was a sort of a viral video that popped up on YouTube. This is something that happened in America, and I thought you might be interested to see it. So that's what we're going to look at next. Let me just put it on. So this is a story about a mum who went into a Walmart store in America, and her baby was naked except for a diaper, or a nappy, as we'd say. And obviously, hi DMV, obviously that did not go down well with the other people in the Walmart watching this woman walk in. Obviously, she's a bit sort of off her tits, basically, on something. And the poor baby was just sat in a nappy, but it was cold. You know, the mother was dressed. So this is, anyway, it led for one of the Walmart employees to take this video, and that's what we're going to look at. Oh, excuse me.
When the child entered the Byram store last week during record-breaking cold temperatures wearing only a diaper, well, she had to do something. I spoke to her tonight, and she says she knew she had to do something quick. Felicia Darling said something to the mother, as did a male customer. Here's some of the interaction.
He came in here without that jacket on. Yeah, he did. That baby just had a pimple on. That's all he got on.
So bearing in mind, when she first walked into the Walmart, the baby's got a jacket on here now, but somebody gave her that jacket to put on. She didn't have that jacket on when they first went in. The baby just had a nappy on. So Felicia Darling, who is the Walmart employee, started videoing and started saying to her, look, you know, you can't bring that baby in here, you'll be freezing. They're like, the mum's got her boots on and her jumper and her jeans and everything. So Felicia Darling, who's the person taking the video, started saying something to her. This guy started saying something to her, and the mum just like, well, she's definitely on something.
I can't.
He's just an innocent soul. He didn't ask to be here. So I took action and I started recording her. In the video, she threw cold food on the baby.
Yeah, don't do that.
And he sadly just looked down.
Somebody call police on her.
It seemed like in his eyes, he was just looking for help. He was crying out for help.
Yeah,
A man was telling her, you throwing cold food on the baby. She walks off and
Yeah, don't do that. Somebody call police. No, what's wrong with you? Somebody call police on her.
So she's just chucking stuff into the trolley where the poor kid's in the trolley. She's chucking frozen food at him, not at him, but on him. She's just, you know, she's away with the fairies. So this guy starts having a go at her.
Get out that man, please. Crazy. What the hell? Somebody call police on her.
Well, it ain't CPS. I already called 2 times. I keep paying. So long as you got hot water, fire extinguisher.
But when you come in the store full of dress and your baby's not.
So what she's saying basically is people have called the police on her before, or the child protection services. And she's saying, no, they don't care. They don't care as long as you've got food and a fire extinguisher, I think she said. You know, she's just like, ugh.
Now, I'm going to call the cops right now.
A customer in a riding shopping cart purchases an outfit for the boy and dresses.
So now this woman, so it just shows you there's some lovely people in the world. This woman's in a mobility scooter. She buys the little boy some clothes so that she can put some clothes on him. And look at the mum, she's just on the phone. She just, as she's putting the clothes on this boy, the mum's just messing about with her phone.
Him while the mother flips through her phone.
After the lady in the riding cart put the outfit on the baby, she walks out of Walmart and started walking to her car. A cop was walking behind her, and they arrested her and they took the baby. They took the baby and CPS was called.
26-year-old Cambria Darby was arrested and charged with child neglect. Child Protective Services released the child to a family member. Byram police say Darby has bonded out. We reached out to Walmart after Darling was fired. This is their statement in full. Quote,
So what happened to the woman that was taking the video? Walmart fired her, sacked her. Unbelievable.
Share the concern others have for the child in the video in our store in Jackson, Mississippi. We don't discuss personnel matters involving current or former associates. All associates are encouraged and empowered to use their judgment in contacting authorities when they see something that may be wrong. However, all associates are also expected to follow the Walmart Code of Conduct. End quote.
Yes, I feel like I did the right thing, because who wouldn't want to help an innocent child?
So that, oh God, it's just gone on to the next.
A 5-year Walmart employee here in the
We'll watch it one more time. So that poor woman who took the video, like probably took the video for evidence, like if it, so that she could go to the police. She got sacked. She lost her job. I can't believe Walmart did that. Anyway, her video went viral. I hope she managed to, I don't know if that meant, you know, if she earned any money from it. I hope she did, because she's lost her job. Let's just watch it one more time. And then so lovely for that woman in the mobility scooter to actually buy some clothes for that little baby.
Joe loses her job for posting a video that has gone viral.
Felicia Darling says when the child entered the Byram store last week during record-breaking cold temperatures wearing only a diaper, well, she had to do something. I spoke to her tonight.
Record-breaking cold temperatures. Oh, my God.
And she says she knew she had to do something quick. Felicia Darling said something to the mother, as did a male customer. Here's some of the interaction.
He came in here without that jacket on. Yeah, he did. That baby just had a pimp on. That's all he got on. I can't.
He's just an innocent soul. He didn't ask to be here. So I took action and I started recording her. In the video, she threw cold food on the baby.
Yeah, don't do that.
And he sadly just looked down.
Somebody call police on her.
It seemed like in his eyes, he was just looking for help. He was crying out for help. A man was telling her.
I mean, I've got to say, in America, I'd be a bit scared of saying too much because you don't know if they're going to shoot you. She could have had a gun under that hat she's got on her head there. She could have had a knife. She could have had a gun. But, you know, I think it was brave of them all to speak up, really. But, you know, I think for me, I probably would have rang the police, waited for the police to come, because I would have been a bit wary because she's out of it. When someone's drugged up like that or whatever she was, sometimes you can, you know, sort of, it can be quite dangerous to get into an argument. You're better off ringing the police, wait for the police, or get the security or whatever. But it was brave of him. It was brave of him. But I probably would have been a bit scared. She could have just produced a bloody gun from under that hat of hers, and that could have been it.
You throwing cold food on the baby. She walks off in shirt.
Yeah, don't do that. Somebody call police.
No, what's wrong with you?
Somebody call police on her.
Who are you? The Lord, my Lord. Know your voice. Who are you?
Get out that man, please.
Crazy.
What the hell? Somebody call police on her.
Go ahead, CPS already called 2 times. I keep paying. So long as you got hot water, fire extinguisher.
But when you come in the store full of dress and your baby's not.
Now, I'm going to call the cops right now.
A customer in a riding shopping cart purchases an outfit for the boy and dresses him while the mother flips through her phone.
Oh.
After the lady in the riding cart put the outfit on the baby.
I bet that little boy was so happy with his new outfit. Bless him.
She walks out of Walmart and started walking to her car. Was walking to her car. A cop was walking behind her. And they arrested her and they took the baby. They took the baby and CPS was called.
26-year-old Cambria Darby was arrested and charged with child neglect. Child Protective Services released the child to a family member. Byram police say Darby has bonded out. We reached out to Walmart after Darling was fired. This is their statement in full. Quote, "We share the concern others have for the child in the video in our store in Jackson, Mississippi. We don't discuss personnel matters involving current or former associates. All associates are encouraged and empowered to use their judgment in contacting authorities when they see something that may be wrong. However, all associates are also expected to follow the Walmart Code of Conduct."
Well, there you go. So, good old Walmart, because that wasn't very good publicity for them, was it, for sacking that woman? But there you go. Yeah, exactly, Heather. The mother's got her jeans on, a jumper, and a great big hat and everything. But yeah, she probably was driving, wasn't she, Ocean? So anyway, it's yeah, no, Ocean, I don't think it was a grandmother. I think it was just someone who happened to be passing. But anyway, with the member of it, well, the last that we heard, I mean, I don't know what's happened since then, But the last that we heard, she paid her bond, so she's out of prison. She was arrested for child neglect. She's out of prison, and the little boy was with a family member, it said. So I don't know who that is. But anyway, I hope at least it's highlighted now. Surely, I mean, eventually he'll probably end up back with his mother, but surely it will have highlighted it and should be more careful in future. But it just chills you sometimes to think, you know, how some children are. And unfortunately, when that popped up, then a load of other videos pop up about, you know, children being mistreated and everything. It's heartbreaking.